Okay, what are some questions you ask yourself when you're reflecting / updating the mission for your business?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, to be honest, I wish I was more original, but I literally just go, I go into channel. The way that I do everything, I'm like, this is exactly what I do. I set up my space. My space is important. I have a particular space I set up. I have a candle I use, I have a pendulum, I bring my journal, I like to lay on a pillow, and I turn on my Ahai, and I call on my guides, and I do whatever needs to get done. And I'm like in that space. Like Ahai is where I channel, it's where I access my Akashic records. And then I will ask my soul, my spirit guides, all of the above, like, what is my mission now? I literally just asked that question, you know? So I'll ask, like, what is my mission now? How can I best serve people? You know, like, what do people really need? How can I help the most people? That's pretty much the only question I'm asking. And then I'm allowing what comes through around that to come through. That's what I'm asking. I think I'll answer this in another way too. Like, if I'm journaling and trying to get to purpose or mission, I would say things that I reflect on are, what do I feel like are my natural gifts? And this has been the one recently, because this is the question that I heard Teal Swan say, and I was like, oh, I love that. She said something like you got to zero in on what you're uniquely excellent at. And I like the way that was phrased, and so I've been thinking about it that way. Like, what am I uniquely excellent at? And that's a different flavor to it. So there's like what I like to do, what I want to do, what turns me on, what would I jump out of the bed and be excited for. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, just very casually, I said, oh, I would love for my job to just be networking all day, and I'm just going and getting coffee with people and chatting with people all day. I'd be great at that. And I was like, I would be great at that. Like, that's all I did all day. I was just driving around San Diego, meeting with different people, chatting. Like, I would be great at that, you know? And so it's things like that where I'm like, yeah, I would do that, no problem. You got to zero in on those things. And then that has to overlap with like, what are my natural gifts? What am I like uniquely really good at, and zero in on that. Like, you know, for me, there's a lot of things I'm interested in and that I'm good at, but that doesn't mean that's all of that is going to be the best way I can serve humanity. So I'm collecting that information, and then I'm saying, like, where do I see humanity struggling or suffering where I feel like I have a helpful solution? That's the most important thing, you know, because that could be through anything. That could be through information or technology or art or sharing expression, you know. So I think we all are drawn to particular struggles or problems that we see that we have a heart for, where we're like, I want to help people with this. I'm just intrinsically motivated. And you got to find what that is for you. You know, there are lots of issues I care about, and there are certain issues like I will die on a hill for, just because I have a lot of knowledge and experience. There's other issues I care about a lot, but I don't have that knowledge or experience. So I'm more of like a different type of advocate, or more of a learner, right? Versus there are things where I'm like, I've been in the trenches, like I understand this, I've helped lots of people with this. So I think I'm looking for the intersection of that, things that I get excited about, things that I would want to get out of bed and do every day, how I can serve humanity the most, like who can I really help, who do I want to help, and there's like an intersection there is what I'm looking at with mission, I would say. And you know, the word mission is interesting because it has a very specific energy to it. Because this person asks that, right? Like, how do you, what questions do you ask to get clear on what your mission is?
And they said with their business specifically.
Okay.
Like the mission of the business.
Yeah. I'll also ask the business. I just ask the business like I would a spirit guide. And I'm getting feedback from the universe. Like, what are people asking me for? You know? Sometimes there are people who ask me to do things for them I never thought about doing. I was like, that could be interesting. So I'm getting feedback from the universe. And I ask my friends, and I do this literally all the time. I was just yesterday, I texted one of my friends. I just do this whenever I want. Like, and everyone's excited to answer me. I'm like, how do you think I can serve people the most? Like, there's lots of things I could do. Like, what would be the best use of my time if I went all in on this, how can I help the most people, right? So I like to get outside of reflection from people I trust too, because sometimes they can see things that I can't, because a lot of things that we're really good at, it's so obvious to us that we don't really realize that it's different. So I think it's helpful to get that feedback of like what's helping people the most. And when it comes to mission in a business, that is so much oriented toward like, how are we helping people? What problem are we solving? You know? And so I think a lot of people come into that from a very logical or mental space. And I think that's where a lot of businesses struggle, because they're logically thinking about it versus like on a heart level, what am I going to be intrinsically motivated to help people with? Because you have to be so connected to your why, you know? So I think that's where it's what problem do I really care about a lot? And that's what I connect in with the mission of the business. Mm-hmm. And the mission of the business, you know, that changes. For me, that changes. And when I recheck in on it, there have been certainly times when I'm getting a new mission and different leg of the mission, and I'm realizing all the things I'm going to have to change. And I don't like that. I don't always like that, you know, but it is what it is. Like I'll realize, oh, there's very tangible things I need to close or end, different things I need to start up. And not everybody around me likes that either, but that's where you have to really decide what your priorities are. And I think that's one of the most difficult parts about being an entrepreneur is you've got to make choices like for the business, whether or not the people around you understand. And bigger than that, like I'm thinking about how can I help the most amount of people. So like, yeah, this person might be upset that I can't give them all this one-on-one time, but it is more important for me to pull back so I can create things that can help thousands, millions of people than it is to spend that same amount of energy helping one person, you know? So there's just like choices you have to make that not everybody's going to understand. And even like that the team doesn't always understand, you know, like we need to pull back here and put more energy over here. We need to do less energy over there. Like this has to be this specific for this reason. There's just going to be things that people don't get because like for me, I'm so intimately connected with my business and the energy of my business. I talk to it every single day and it will tell me things I need to do. And it's like a mentor for me. And I don't always like what it has to say. And because it asks me to grow up, because I'm like, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to, you know, hurt these people's feelings or let these people down. And the business is just like tough shit. You're letting millions of people down if you don't do that, you know? So, I think having that relationship with that consciousness, with that energy, certainly like keeps me in check.
How often would you say that you recheck in with that mission?
With my like asking the question, what is my mission? Honestly, it's intuitive. I'm really only asking that specific question when I'm feeling like things aren't flowing or there's a stuckness. I'm like, let's just recheck in. Am I on track? So that's kind of like, it's not, you know, yeah. But I'm talking to the business pretty much every day,
right? In
some way, like what do you need? Just doing some energy work on it. What's going on? But like really doing a deep dive on like mission. I mean, certainly I'm doing that at least like once a quarter. But if I'm feeling like things are energetically stuck or not working, then I'll just do it then.
Okay, perfect. I love all of that. Such great insight.